My name is Gladys Williams. I'm 56 years old, and until last year, I was a police officer for 30 years in Chicago. That night, the pounding on my door at 3 a.m. jolted me from sleep. I opened it to find my daughter Amanda collapsed on my doorstep. Her face bruised lip split open, sobbing uncontrollably. "Mom," she choked out, "Jordan hit me. He has a mistress. I caught them." Something cold and familiar settled in my chest as I helped her inside. I didn't say a word as I went to my closet and put on my old uniform. Then I made one call. If you're watching this, drop a comment letting me know where you're from, and hit subscribe if you want to hear what happened next to the man who thought he could abuse my daughter and get away with it. I spent 3 decades of my life in law enforcement. It wasn't just a job, it defined me. I specialized in domestic violence cases, and I'd seen firsthand how abuse destroys lives when left unchecked. The patterns, the escalation, the way abusers isolate their victims, I knew it all. I just never thought my own daughter would become one of the statistics I used to quote. I raised Amanda alone after my husband Michael was killed in the line of duty when she was just 5 years old. Michael and I were both officers' partners before we were spouses. The day he responded to an armed robbery call and never came home changed everything. I threw myself into being both parents to our little girl while continuing to serve on the force. Amanda grew up surrounded by my fellow officers, who became her extended family. Despite witnessing my career up close, she chose a different path for herself. She became an elementary school teacher, so full of gentleness and patience with her second-grade students. She had her father's kind eyes and my stubborn determination. I couldn't have been prouder of the woman she became. 4 years ago, Amanda called me bubbling with excitement. She'd met someone at a police department fundraiser for families of fallen officers. His name was Jordan Taylor, a financial advisor who managed investments for several police pension funds. She brought him to Sunday dinner the following weekend. My first impression of Jordan was positive. Tall, well-dressed, articulate, with a firm handshake and steady eye contact. He asked thoughtful questions about my career and spoke respectfully about law enforcement. He was attentive to Amanda pulling out her chair, refilling her water glass without being asked, laughing at her jokes. He seemed successful, drove a luxury car, wore an expensive watch, talked knowledgeably about investments and property markets. When they announced their engagement 6 months later, I was genuinely happy for them. At their wedding 3 years ago, I gave a speech about entrusting my only daughter to Jordan's care, about the sacred responsibility of marriage. I remember his earnest nod as I spoke, the way he squeezed Amanda's hand, the promise in his eyes. The first year of their marriage seemed perfect from the outside. They bought a beautiful home in Lake Forest, an upscale Chicago suburb about 30 minutes from my place. They took exotic vacations to Bali and the Maldives. Amanda talked about starting a family soon, how she wanted 3 kids, how Jordan would be a wonderful father. I was already imagining grandchildren to spoil. But looking back, there were subtle signs I dismissed. Jordan insisted on handling all their finances, giving Amanda an allowance, despite her full-time teaching job. He'd make small comments about her friends, how Stephanie was too negative, or Caitlin was a bad influence. Amanda gradually stopped mentioning girls' nights out. Her wardrobe slowly changed. Fewer bright colors and casual clothes, more conservative dresses and heels that Jordan approved of. Over the past few months, our regular mother-daughter lunch dates became less frequent. Amanda would cancel last minute, citing Jordan's work events or unexpected obligations. When we did meet, she seemed tired, checking her phone constantly, always aware of the time. "Jordan likes dinner at exactly 6, she'd explain, rushing off. The last time I saw her before that terrible night was 2 weeks earlier. It was mid-July, sweltering hot, yet Amanda wore a turtleneck. When I commented on it, she laughed too quickly and said something about the restaurant being overly air-conditioned. Throughout lunch, she seemed jumpy, flinching when a waiter dropped a fork nearby. My instincts prickled, but she brushed off my concerns. "I'm just stressed about the new school year," she insisted. I didn't push harder. That's my greatest regret. The night everything changed, I couldn't sleep. Retirement was still new to me after turning in my badge 6 months earlier. I missed the structure, the purpose of the job. Around 2:30 a.m., I gave up on sleep and went to make chamomile tea. That's when I heard it. Desperate, frantic knocking at my front door. Police instincts die hard. I grabbed the baseball bat I keep by my bed and approached cautiously, peering through the peephole. The porch light illuminated a hunched figure I barely recognized as my daughter. When I pulled the door open, Amanda practically fell into my arms. Her right eye was swelling shut, an angry purple bruise blooming across her cheekbone. Her bottom lip was split and bleeding. Red finger marks stood out starkly against the pale skin of her neck. She was wearing pajama pants and a t-shirt, no shoes, despite the cool night air. "Oh my God, Amanda!" I guided her inside my training, kicking in automatically as I assessed her injuries. "Who did this to you? Was it Jordan?" She couldn't speak through her sobs at first. I helped her to the couch, got her a glass of water, and grabbed my first aid kit. As I gently cleaned the cut on her lip, she flinched away from my touch. "I'm sorry, baby. I know it hurts," I said, trying to keep my voice calm despite the rage building inside me. "Can you tell me what happened?" "I came home early," she finally whispered, her voice raspy. "My evening faculty meeting was cancelled. I walked into our bedroom and Jordan was there with another woman." Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "In our bed, Mom. Our bed." I continued cleaning her wounds, letting her tell the story at her own pace. I was so shocked. I just stood there. Then the woman, she looked at me and actually smiled, like she'd won something. Amanda's breathing quickened. Jordan jumped up, wrapped a sheet around himself, and started yelling at me for not calling first, for embarrassing him. She took a shuddering breath. I couldn't believe what was happening. I asked who she was. He said it was Natalie from his office, that they'd been seeing each other for months. When I started crying, he got angrier, said I was making a scene. She touched her bruised cheek gingerly. When I told him to get out of our house, he grabbed me by the shoulders and threw me against the wall. I hit it hard and fell down. My hands trembled slightly as I applied antiseptic to a small cut near her eyebrow. The woman, Natalie, she laughed, Mum. She actually laughed as I tried to get up. Jordan told me to shut up, that I was lucky he put up with me at all. He said if I told anyone, especially my cop mother, he'd make me regret it. Amanda described how Jordan had dragged her by the arm to the guest room, locked her in, and returned to his mistress. When she heard the shower running later, she managed to climb out through the window, got into her car, and drove to my house, disoriented and in pain. As she finished her story, something cold and familiar settled in me. The same feeling I'd had countless times when facing domestic abusers during my career. But this was different. This was my daughter, my baby girl. I went to my bedroom closet and pulled out my police uniform. Though retired, I still kept it pressed and ready out of habit. I put it on methodically, each button a deliberate action as I contained my fury. "Mom, what are you doing?" Amanda asked, fear in her voice. "Making a call," I replied, picking up my phone and dialing a number I knew by heart. When Detective Marcus Thompson answered, his voice groggy with sleep, I spoke clearly and calmly. "Marcus, it's Gladys. I need a favor. My daughter's husband just assaulted her. I want him picked up tonight." While waiting for Marcus to arrive, I convinced Amanda that we needed to go to the hospital. "We need documentation," I explained, falling back on my professional training. "Photos, medical reports. These will be crucial if you decide to press charges." Amanda looked up, her uninjured eye wide. "You think I have a choice?" "The choice is always yours," I told her gently. "But I want you to have every option available. That starts with evidence." At Northwestern Memorial Hospital, we were assigned to a nurse named Sarah, a woman about my age, with kind eyes and efficiency in her movements that told me she'd seen too many similar cases. "I wish I could say this was unusual," she murmured as she photographed Amanda's injuries. "But you're the third woman I've seen tonight with these kinds of injuries." Sarah arranged for x-rays, which revealed what I'd feared. Amanda had a hairline fracture in her right wrist, likely from trying to break her fall when Jordan threw her against the wall. The doctor applied a brace and prescribed pain medication and anti-inflammatories. Marcus arrived while the doctor was finishing up. He'd been my partner for 7 years before becoming a detective, and I trusted him implicitly. He'd known Amanda since she was in middle school, had attended her college graduation and her wedding to Jordan. His face darkened when he saw her injuries. "Amanda," he said softly, then turned to me with determination in his eyes. "We'll get him Gladys." Marcus took Amanda's statement, officially recording every detail. He was thorough but gentle, giving her time when she needed to pause or collect herself. While he was photographing her injuries for police evidence, Amanda's phone began ringing. Jordan's name flashed on the screen. She stared at it, terror flooding her face. "He'll kill me if I press charges, Mom. You don't understand." I sat beside her on the hospital bed. "I do understand, sweetheart. Better than most. That's why we need to do this by the book." I explained about restraining orders, about the protection process, about how the system could work for her if we followed the proper steps. When her phone rang for the 4th time, I looked at Marcus, who nodded slightly. I answered it myself. "Amanda!" Jordan's voice came through angry and slurred. He'd been drinking. "Where the hell are you? Get home now." "This isn't Amanda," I said evenly. "This is Gladys." There was a pause. Then his tone changed completely, becoming smooth and concerned. "Gladys, I'm so worried about Amanda. We had a little disagreement and she overreacted. She had an accident, slipped and hit her face on the counter. I was trying to help her, but she ran off. Is she with you? Is she okay?" The performance was almost impressive. The quick pivot, the fabricated story, the tone of genuine concern. I'd heard it countless times from other abusers. "Amanda is receiving medical treatment for her injuries," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "The x-ray confirmed her wrist is fractured." "X-ray? That's not necessary," he said quickly. "Like I said, it was just an accident. I can come pick her up, take care of her at home." "That won't be possible, Jordan. Officers are on their way to your house now. I suggest you don't make this any harder than it needs to be." His voice dropped, all pretense gone. "You don't know who you're dealing with, Gladys. I have friends in the department. This won't go anywhere." "We'll see about that," I replied and ended the call. Amanda was shaking. "He's going to be so angry." I took her hand. "That's why we're going to make sure he can't get near you." The legal process moved swiftly at first, thanks in part to my connections in the department. Officers arrested Jordan at their Lake Forest home that same night. According to the report, they found him packing a suitcase, apparently planning to leave town. The bedroom showed clear signs of a struggle. A dent in the drywall, consistent with someone being thrown against it. A lamp knocked over drops of blood on the carpet that matched the location of Amanda's split lip. But Jordan's family had money and influence. Within hours, they had hired Franklin Pierce, one of Chicago's most expensive criminal defense attorneys. By morning, Pierce was already working to control the narrative, suggesting to the prosecutor that this was a simple domestic misunderstanding blown out of proportion. Despite Pierce's efforts, the evidence was strong enough that Jordan was formally charged with domestic battery causing bodily harm, a Class 4 felony in Illinois. However, he was released on bail with a restraining order prohibiting him from contacting Amanda or coming within 500 feet of her. Amanda moved in with me temporarily, too frightened to return to the house she had shared with Jordan. She jumped at every sound, kept the curtains drawn, and took a leave of absence from her teaching position. "I can't let my students see me like this," she said, gesturing to her still healing face. I used every contact I had from my years on the force to expedite protection measures. I had security cameras installed around my house. I arranged for patrol cars to drive by regularly. I made sure Amanda's case was assigned to a prosecutor who specialized in domestic violence. Despite the restraining order, Jordan found ways to torment Amanda. she began receiving texts from unknown numbers, sometimes pleading, sometimes threatening. "I know where you are. This is all a misunderstanding. You'll regret this. No one will believe you. Come home and we can forget this happened." Marcus discovered that the mistress, Natalie Parker, was the daughter of Edward Parker, the founder of the financial firm where Jordan worked. This explained a lot. Jordan's rapid rise in the company, the blind eye turned to his increasingly erratic behavior, and now the firm's united front in supporting him. They provided character witnesses, statements about his impeccable professional conduct, and financial backing for his legal defense. I reconnected with former colleagues who had worked domestic violence cases with me, building a stronger network of support for Amanda. Through these connections, we learned that neighbors had heard arguments from the Taylor house several times in recent months, but hadn't reported anything. Amanda's co-worker, Lauren, admitted that she'd noticed bruises on Amanda's arms a few months earlier, but had accepted the explanation of bumping into a door because she couldn't imagine Jordan being violent. The most disturbing development came when Amanda started receiving messages from Natalie as well. "You should have known he wasn't satisfied with just you. If you were a better wife, he wouldn't have needed me. Drop the charges if you know what's good for you." I documented everything, building our case methodically while trying to keep Amanda's spirits up. But the combined pressure from Jordan, his family, his powerful connections, and the mistress was taking its toll. "Maybe I should just drop it," Amanda said one evening, curled up on my couch, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. His attorney keeps saying that with my word against theirs and no witnesses except Natalie, who'll back Jordan's story, it'll be hard to prove. Jordan's father called my principal trying to get me fired. What if I lose everything and he still walks free? I sat beside her, taking her hands in mine. "That's exactly what they want you to think. But we have evidence, Amanda, and I have a feeling we're about to get more." Marcus called the next day with a breakthrough. Jordan had a sealed record, he told me. A previous girlfriend filed assault charges 3 years before he met Amanda. Case was dropped suddenly before trial. "Let me guess," I said. "She changed her story." "Disappeared is more like it," Marcus replied. "Jennifer Wright moved from Chicago to Seattle right after withdrawing her statement. No social media presence changed her phone number. It's like she wanted to vanish. It took 3 days of calling in favors from contacts across different police departments. But I finally got Jennifer Wright's current contact information. When I called, she was initially terrified, thinking Jordan had found her. Once I explained who I was and why I was calling her, relief was palpable. "I always knew he'd do it again," she said. "I just hoped the next woman would be stronger than me." Jennifer agreed to provide a sworn statement about her relationship with Jordan. Her story had eerie parallels to Amanda's: the charming beginning, the gradual isolation, the controlling behavior, and finally the violence when she discovered he was cheating. Jordan's family had paid her to drop the charges and leave town with the threat that they would destroy her if she ever spoke about it. Meanwhile, Amanda discovered something equally disturbing. Going through financial documents that Jordan had always kept from her, she found hidden credit cards in her name, maxed out with over $50,000 in debt. Further investigation revealed that Jordan had a gambling problem he'd concealed and had been using Amanda's good credit to cover his losses. As the case built, so did the pressure on Amanda. Jordan's mother called her repeatedly, leaving voicemails that oscillated between tearful pleas and subtle threats. "You're destroying my son's career over a little argument," she said. "After everything he's done for you, this is how you repay him, by dragging our family name through the mud." I could see Amanda wavering under the onslaught. To strengthen her resolve, I arranged for her to meet with a support group for domestic violence survivors. There she met Tasha, whose sister had been killed by her abusive husband after she dropped charges against him, believing his promises that it would never happen again. The restraining order was still in his pocket when they found him standing over her body, Tasha told Amanda. "Piece of paper doesn't stop someone who thinks they own you." Hearing these women's stories, their suffering, their courage, their hard-won wisdom, gave Amanda new strength. She began to speak more confidently about the upcoming trial to plan for a future without Jordan. But Jordan wasn't done trying to intimidate her. 2 weeks before the trial date, he showed up at my house violating the restraining order. I was in the backyard when I heard Amanda scream. I ran to the front to find Jordan on my porch, trying to force his way inside, while Amanda held the door. "Get away from my daughter!" I shouted, already dialing 911. Several neighbors came out of their houses witnesses to the scene unfolding. Jordan whirled to face me, his handsome features contorted with rage. "This is your fault," he screamed. "You turned her against me. She was fine before you got involved." "She has a fractured wrist and needed stitches in her lip," I replied calmly, keeping my phone visible so he knew help was coming. "That's not fine by any definition." "You think you're so righteous," he snarled, stepping toward me menacingly. "You have no idea what I'm capable of. When this is over, I'll make sure neither of you can show your faces in this city again." The mask had completely slipped, now his true nature on display for all to see, including Mrs. Hernandez across the street, who was filming everything on her phone. The police arrived within minutes to arrest Jordan for violating the restraining order, adding another charge to those he already faced. As they put him in the patrol car, I saw a flicker of realization in his eyes. For the first time, Jordan understood that his actions had consequences he couldn't charm or buy his way out of. The preliminary hearing was tense. Franklin Pierce attempted to paint Amanda as emotionally unstable, suggesting she had invented the assault out of jealousy over Jordan's workplace friendship with Natalie. He implied that Amanda's injuries were self-inflicted after she discovered the alleged affair. But the prosecution had built a strong case. Financial investigations revealed that Jordan had purchased one-way tickets to the Cayman Islands for himself and Natalie scheduled for the day after he was arrested. Bank records showed he'd been gradually transferring money from joint accounts with Amanda into offshore holdings for months. Amanda was nervous but composed as she took the stand. She described the assault in clear, unflinching detail. Pierce's cross-examination was aggressive, designed to make her appear confused or vindictive. He brought up tiny inconsistencies in her initial statement, made when she was still in shock and pain. "So you're changing your story now?" he asked with feigned concern. "I'm not changing anything," Amanda replied steadily. "I was injured and terrified when I gave my first statement. But the core facts have never changed. Jordan threw me against a wall hard enough to fracture my wrist when I discovered him with another woman in our bed." Natalie Parker was a reluctant witness, clearly coached by Pierce. Initially, she supported Jordan's version of events, that Amanda had burst in hysterical and had attacked them, forcing Jordan to defend himself. But under the prosecutor's skilled questioning, Natalie's story began to unravel. "Ms. Parker records show you and Mr. Taylor exchanged over 6,000 text messages in the 3 months before this incident. Is that consistent with a casual workplace friendship?" Natalie shifted uncomfortably. "We were close. And these messages," the prosecutor continued, holding up a stack of papers, "where Mr. Taylor refers to getting rid of the wife problem, and you respond with, 'Daddy can find you a better job if she causes trouble.' What did you understand those to mean?" Natalie's confidence cracked. After several more damning exchanges, she finally admitted that she had witnessed Jordan being physically aggressive with Amanda on 2 previous occasions, but had dismissed it as just how passionate he gets sometimes. The most powerful testimony came from Jennifer Wright, who had flown in from Seattle, despite her fear. She described her relationship with Jordan in terms that echoed Amanda's experience with eerie precision, the same progression from charm to control to violence. "The last time I saw Jordan Taylor," Jennifer testified, "he held me down and told me that if I ever told anyone about what he'd done, he would find me and make me wish I was dead. I believed him then, and part of me still believes him now." Her hands trembled, but her voice remained steady. "I'm here because I can't have another woman's blood on my conscience." Pierce attempted to discredit me as well, portraying me as an overprotective mother with a vendetta who had manipulated evidence based on my police background. "Isn't it true," he asked during my testimony, "that you never approved of Mr. Taylor, that you resented him for taking your daughter away from you. I gave a toast at their wedding, expressing my happiness and trust in Jordan, I replied calmly. I have the video if you'd like to see it. What I didn't approve of was finding my only child on my doorstep with a fractured wrist and strangulation marks on her neck. The defining moment came when Jordan took the stand. Initially, he was the picture of wounded dignity, expressing deep concern for Amanda's mental state and genuine confusion about how their loving marriage had come to this point. But as the prosecutor methodically presented the evidence, the photos of Amanda's injuries, the financial records showing his gambling debts, and planned escape, the testimony of multiple witnesses, Jordan's composure began to crack. When the prosecutor asked about his previous assault case with Jennifer Wright, Jordan exploded. "That lying bitch got what was coming to her just like Amanda will," he shouted, half rising from the witness stand. "You think a restraining order will stop me? You think any of this matters?" The courtroom went silent. Jordan seemed to realize what he'd done, sinking back into his seat as Pierce put his head in his hands. The judge called for order, but the damage was done. Jordan's true face had been revealed in the most public way possible. The jury deliberation was surprisingly brief. After just 4 hours, they returned with a verdict guilty on all counts. As the verdict was read, I held Amanda's hand. She squeezed mine so tightly, it hurt, tears streaming down her face. Not of fear this time, but relief. Jordan showed no emotion until the judge began to speak before sentencing. "Mr. Taylor, domestic violence is a crime of power and control, made all the more insidious because it happens behind closed doors, perpetrated against those who trust their abusers the most. Your actions show a pattern of escalating violence, financial exploitation, and utter disregard for your wife's physical and emotional well-being." The judge paused, looking directly at Jordan. "The court sentences you to 5 years in state prison with mandatory participation in counseling for domestic abusers. Additionally, you will have no contact with Amanda Taylor for a period of 10 years. The judge turned to Amanda. "Ms. Taylor, the court grants your petition for divorce on grounds of physical cruelty. A separate hearing will address the financial aspects of your dissolution." As officers led Jordan away, he finally showed emotion. Not remorse, but rage glaring at Amanda and me with undisguised hatred. But for the first time since that terrible night, Amanda stood tall, meeting his gaze without flinching. 1 year later, Amanda and I sat on the patio of a small cafe, enjoying the spring sunshine. The physical signs of her ordeal had healed. No more bruises, no more cast on her wrist. The emotional healing had been slower but steady. After selling the Lake Forest house and splitting the proceeds as ordered by the divorce court, minus the gambling debts Jordan had hidden, which he alone was responsible for, Amanda had moved to a cozy condo in Evanston. She'd returned to teaching, finding joy again in her second grader's curiosity and energy. David asked me out for coffee after the staff meeting yesterday. She mentioned casually, referring to the kind-hearted science teacher from her school. And I prompted, trying not to sound too eager. Amanda had been understandably hesitant to date again. I said yes. She smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "It's just coffee, Mom, but I'm ready to try." Amanda's therapy had been intensive, working through not just the trauma of Jordan's abuse, but also examining why she had missed the red flags. She'd joined an advocacy group for domestic violence awareness, occasionally speaking at community events about recognizing the warning signs. The police department had even invited her to participate in their training sessions, sharing her perspective as both a survivor and the daughter of an officer. Her story helped new recruits understand the complexities of domestic violence, cases beyond the textbook descriptions. Jordan had tried to maintain his hold on Amanda, even from prison, sending manipulative letters that alternated between apologies, declarations of love, and veiled threats. After consulting with her therapist, Amanda had decided not to read them, returning each one unopened. Eventually, they stopped coming. We'd heard through Marcus that Natalie was engaged to another co-worker at the financial firm. Amanda had anonymously sent the fiancé links to news articles about Jordan's trial, feeling a responsibility to warn her. We never learned if the woman heeded the warning. Amanda and Jennifer Wright had formed an unexpected friendship, supporting each other through difficult days. They spoke weekly, finding healing in their shared understanding and in watching Jordan face consequences that his money and charm couldn't erase. I had fully retired from consulting work, focusing instead on volunteer work at a women's shelter. My experience both as an officer and as the mother of a survivor gave me a unique perspective that helped other families navigating similar crises. That December, we celebrated the holidays at Amanda's new place. Surrounded by true friends, her teaching colleagues, my former police partners, women from her support group, we created new traditions to replace those tainted by Jordan's presence. There was laughter again, genuine and uninhibited, no walking on eggshells or checking the time anxiously. Over dessert, Amanda shared something that brought tears to my eyes. "I'm considering adoption," she said. "Being a single mom. I know it won't be easy, but..." She looked at me. I had a pretty amazing role model for that. Later, as we washed dishes side by side, I reflected on what I'd learned through this ordeal. "You know what scares me most looking back?" I told Amanda. "All those years dealing with domestic violence cases, and I still almost missed the signs with you. Jordan was so good at his act, successful charming the perfect son-in-law." Amanda nodded. "That's why he got away with it for so long. No one wants to believe the handsome financial advisor who donates to charity could be a monster behind closed doors." "I've learned to trust my instincts more," I said. "That uneasy feeling I had when you showed up in that turtleneck in July, I should have pushed harder." "Mom, this wasn't your fault," Amanda said firmly. "And it wasn't mine either. It took me a long time in therapy to really believe that." The following week, Amanda and I helped a young woman named Tara and her 2 small children move into a safe apartment after leaving her abusive husband. As we unpacked kitchen supplies and set up beds, I watched Amanda showing Tara's 5-year-old daughter how to arrange her stuffed animals on her new bed. In that moment, I understood something profound about breaking cycles of violence. It happens in small acts of courage. Making that first call for help, testifying, despite your fear rebuilding your life piece by piece, then turning around to offer your hand to someone else still trapped in darkness. The strength I'd found in my darkest hour wasn't really mine alone. It was the collective power of every person who refused to look away, who chose to stand together against abuse. That's the real story behind the headlines and court cases. The quiet, determined refusal to let violence have the final word. What about you? Have you ever had to find strength you didn't know you had for someone you love? Or has someone been that strength for you when you needed it most? Drop a comment below and share your story. And if you found value in hearing mine, please like, subscribe, and share this video so it might reach someone who needs to hear it today. Remember, breaking silence breaks the power of abuse. Thank you for listening, and I wish you all the courage you need for whatever battles you're facing.